Welcome to this segment of Countdown to Tiger Kickoff. Because of the nature of the trip this week to Alpine, we're recording this earlier in the week to play back before the ball game. So those listening and watching on the internet, please take note of that. Coach Sartain, last week the Tigers at home beat Howard Payne 27-7. That was a ball game that got started off slow. You only had 6 plays in the first quarter.
Well, I think it was partially due to Howard Payne's game plan. I think they came into the game wanting to bleed the clock, wanting to shorten the game. And, of course, their style of offense, the option game, is somewhat, I don't want to use the term boring, but it has a tendency to lull you to sleep, 3.5 yards a pop, and they were willing to take that. And the sort of the motivation for that is number one, shorten the game. Number two, cause the opponent to become impatient, anxious, and attempt to do things that they wouldn't normally do. And initially, it served its purpose very well. We were a little bit frustrated on the sideline. Our first series was a 3-and-out, and we kind of you get sort of feeling pressured into making a big play or scoring now or winning the game with one play. And they just kept grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding. And initially, it did. It was effective. At halftime, we were able to sort of focus our guys on that and make sure they understood that we weren't going to allow that to manipulate us and to cause us to feel or think differently about how we needed to execute our offense and defense, et cetera. And it eventually turned for us.
Of course, you went in halftime 7-7, and unfortunately, second half hasn't been good to us this year, but scored 20 unanswered points in the second half.
Well, that was, again, a tribute to the kids at halftime, kind of refocusing and just making up their mind that we were going to put our best game on the field for two quarters this time for the second two, and turned out in our favor.
Before we talk about today's opponent, Sul Ross State University, as you play in Alpine, let's do a segment we do each week on Countdown to Tiger Kickoff where you highlight a coaching staff member, but we've already gone through all the coaching staff. So let's pick 4 players this week who come from East Texas who are playing for the ETD Tigers. Who are we going to talk about on this final show of the year?
Well, we'll talk about several today. First off, we'll talk about the young man, Greg Gaston from Linden Kildare High School. Greg came to us this fall, transferred from Louisiana Tech, and started out the year playing fullback. Mid-season made the move to defensive tackle, and he has done a very, very good job. Played several Monday night games down there, but has the last few weeks moved himself up to varsity and has gotten some Saturday snaps. Played extensively in the second half last week against Howard Payne. We're excited about his future with us. And then 3 freshmen, Ja'Cory Hunter, defensive end from Bullard, Jeremiah Henry, tailback from John Tyler, and Tristan Leaks, a linebacker from Canton, are among 3 of our freshmen from East Texas. All 3 of these guys will be making the trip with us this week to Alpine. Ja'Cory has made some incredible progress this year as a defensive end. Is going to be a very, very effective player at that position for us in the future. Jeremiah has already gotten some varsity snaps, took 3 carries last Saturday. He's now our number 2 tailback and has moved himself up on the depth chart. Tristan Leaks has traveled with us several times at linebacker and gotten some extensive play in the last couple of varsity games. And we're expecting great things out of all 3 of these guys and a couple other East Texans that we'll highlight tonight that I don't think we have in the past. Our 2 freshman quarterbacks, Connor Sharp from White Oak, and of course Anthony Morgan from Carthage. Both those young men have done an incredible job for us this year on the gold team, our JV. Have lit it up, have lit the scoreboard up offensively. So we're excited about that position for our future as well.
All right, let's move to a segment where we talk about the opponent, Sul Ross State University. And before we talk nuts and bolts with them, this is a long trip. This is a long bus ride. You got to make some plans to have the players rested because of your departure time and arriving in Alpine and things like that. What are some of the things that you try to do as a coaching staff to make sure the players are rested?
Well, we just encourage them during the course of the week to rest appropriately while they have the chance, eat appropriately while they have the chance, and we're going to attempt to stay on a normal schedule just as long as we possibly can. Through Thursday practice, we'll be on a normal schedule. We're going to travel while they're asleep. So we're going to depart at midnight on Thursday night, Friday morning, so that the majority of the time we spend on the road, they're asleep anyway. And hopefully that'll assist us as well. Break the trip up, a couple of stops for breakfast and to get a little walk-through workout before we head into Alpine. And then we'll have a few hours Friday afternoon, Friday evening to relax and just sort of recover from the trip before, we have to get up the next morning for the game.
Let's talk about the Sul Ross State University Lobos. They come to the ball game with an overall record of 2-7, 1-6. I kind of remember a wide receiver for them, Carruthers. He's a pretty good receiver for them.
Well, he actually leads the conference right now in receptions and yardage per game, and factors in nationally in that category as well. He's a big, tall kid, has been with them for a couple of years, and very athletic, goes and gets just about everything that's thrown up. And they also, their little running back, who was their quarterback 2 years ago in a wishbone scheme, is now their leading ground gainer, and then he's also one of the top rushers in our conference at this stage in the season. I believe Sul Ross has given up the fewest sacks of anybody in our conference, and I think they're in one of the league leaders in interceptions. But they've got some talent on the field. They always do. They always have some skill. They're a very fast football team, and we're just preparing for a last week of the season war. Where they want to go out with a good taste in their mouth, and so do we.
What type of offense will they run against you?
Well, they've committed to the spread. They still will line up in a 2-back and some 3-back stuff, but their game is to spread you out and throw the ball up to Carruthers and let that little running back pick you apart inside. He's a little guy that is extremely quick, can slip through some cracks that you don't even know are there. So he's tough to bring down. So they've got a two-pronged attack that makes for a little bit of a testy defensive game plan.
What is the game plan for a Tiger victory?
Well, we want to play with the kind of intensity and the kind of emotion and the tempo that we would play if this were our bowl game, if this were our playoff game, if this were for a conference championship game. And to do that, we've got to execute offensively, take care of the football as usual. All those old cliche-ish what wins football games. We've won a lot of those statistical categories during the course of this year in several of our losses. So it's important for us to take advantage of opportunities they give us. It's important for us to play consistently for 4 quarters and defensively not give up the big play, and offensively not set them up for a big play. Special teams needs to win the day.
Well, Coach, thank you for your time all season long to visit about Tiger football before we play. Hopefully when things are done here in Alpine, Texas, the Tigers walk away with a victory.
Well, that's our objective, and that's what we're hoping for.
Don't go away. More to come on Countdown to Tiger Kickoff.